Hi, I'm Crystal.
I'm Tara.
I'm Neoshia.
And I'm Tim Kang. And you're listening to the Rom-Com Detectives.
Welcome to Rom-Com Detectives, episode 70, We Want to Believe, the fourth episode in our rom-com division. I'm joined today by Tara and Neoshia, and we're very happy to welcome rom-com consultant Tim Kang.
Yeah, it's the first time I've been a consultant, so I'm looking forward to it, and I hope I do a good job for you guys.
Goes right on the resume.
Yeah, doing the consulting and not the insulting.
Yeah, correct.
Our Mentalist unit listeners know Tim as Agent Kimball Cho, and rom-com detective show enthusiasts may also know him as Detective Gordon Katsumoto from the Magnum PI Reboot. He currently co-hosts the TV Police podcast and Mentalist Rewatch podcast with his Mentalist co-star Owen Yeoman. And today we're going to be doing an X-Files themed episode to discuss the various exciting developments with the upcoming Ryan Coogler reboot on Hulu. And while we don't yet know if this reboot is going to feature any sort of rom-com detective dynamic, since the X-Files was a show that launched the ship, so to speak, we felt that this was still fitting for our show. And a bit of background on how we ended up with Tim as our consultant on this special X-Files episode. Tim is a big X-Files fan. He mentioned to me when we met back in October, and he's mentioned X-Files a couple of times on the TV Police. And then during the Q&A in the event in the bullpen on Discord in March, I finally got the chance to ask you, Tim, what your favorite episodes are. And I was actually, and like you asked me what my favorite episodes were. And then I think it was Hollywood AD. You said you didn't like that one that much, but you could still name several scenes from the episode. So I was like, wow, he's actually a real fan.
No, I with as far as the original X-Files, I'm 100% a real fan. I've watched that series from start to finish, episode 1 to even the most recent ones. What was it, 10 and 11? They did
10 and 11, yeah.
Yeah. But the core presentation, the 1 through 9, I've seen multiple times, and it's a series that just really is that comfort food for me, and just obviously Chris Carter did an amazing job of melding the comedy and the drama and all that kind of thing, and just made it a lot of fun to watch. I feel like, and I mentioned this on our podcast, on the TV Police podcast, was that I think there was elements of that in my show, The Mentalist, in terms of that dramedy sort of, and I hate that word, but I'm going to use it, melding both the heavy dramatic parts with really funny moments as well. So, it was familiar. It was very familiar.
It's kind of funny that like The Mentalist is a comfort show for so many people, and yet you have your own comfort show.
Sure. Yeah.
They're people too.
Yeah, right.
The stars are just like us.
Yeah, and it's weird because for me, even the beginning seasons of the X-Files, you could see the potential there, and absolutely, season 1, season 2. Fairly rough, in terms of the storytelling, and they hadn't, they were still finding their feet. But man, when they found that rhythm, you could just just watch it, binge watch it from one season or episode 1 to episode 22. I think for me, it started probably in season 3 where it became like that. I still watch season 1 and 2, like that, but the smoothness and the through line and everything else through 3 and on, I think really did it for me. So.
It's interesting that you say that, because I feel that I have a similar experience with the show in terms of, for me, season 1's a little slow, and then you get into season 2, and then by about mid-season 2, everything just kind of really picks up, and it's like binging from here on out.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm actually looking right now. I'm trying to figure out which. That's hilarious. I'm on the X-Files. For me, that started the flawless season, I think, just bangers, one after the other, probably was season 4. Or no, I'm sorry, season 5. certainly there was some filler there. But season 5, I mean, it was just fun and it was light. They didn't take themselves too seriously. Even the lore stuff they covered with a little bit. They didn't take it quite as serious. And I can go from, let's see, I'm looking here: Unusual Suspects, Detour, Christmas Carol, Emily, Katsunagari, Chinga, Killswitch, Bad Blood. That season for me was the smoothest season. And it could be argued, I guess, the most broad season, but it was still great for me.
And then they left Vancouver.
Tara's from Vancouver, so she's got slight bias.
Yeah. And then yes, absolutely. Yeah.
All right, let's we've touched on a little bit of this, but let's do some introductions / background.
Sure.
So we'll each give our own little X-Files backstory, talking about how we got into it, how much we've seen, fan preferences, what being a fan has been like since then, and anything else for listeners to know. And we're gonna limit Neoshia to 2 minutes.
Oh no!
There's a reason. There's a reason for this. She's justified in it. She is justified.
All right. So who wants to go first? Let's start with Tara, because you're in Vancouver.
Yeah, sure. Well, so I'll start with that because the interesting thing is I'm one of those weirdos who didn't watch the show while it was filming in Vancouver. I was a movie convert. And so, you said that Neoshia was limited, but you didn't limit me. And I'm not sure you know how deep my X-Files history goes, which is basically from the time I saw the movie, I went real deep. And I started university the next year, and it turned out everybody on my floor also watched X-Files. So that's how I made my friends, was like Friday night was sacred hour. Everybody would get together. A bunch of us lived together the next year. I also got into that. This was baby's first fandom back when things were on like list serves. So that was when I started writing fan fiction, which I still do for a bunch of other shows, but X-Files fan fiction was my first fan fiction, and I am still friends with like a ton of the folks that I met back then. And in fact, because I'm an editor now, I am editing a friend's book that she's self-publishing, who I met 1 million years ago in the X-Files fandom. So at university, I had a fish named Mulder and Scully, and I cut his hair to be Scully's hair. And I made my boyfriend, who's now my husband, dress up as Mulder, and we went as Mulder and Scully for Halloween.
Very good.
And it was fun. I mean, we were definitely too old for it, but it was still fun anyways. So yeah, I mean, I really, really loved it for a really long time. I struggled a bit with the shift to the Doggett and Ray's years, and
they still work too, though. I think
they did, but at the time, I'm like, my heart belonged to Mulder and Scully.
Yeah, it's the same for me.
Yeah, and then I did watch the newer stuff, but I don't know, something about the magic wasn't quite there for me. But I'm actually really excited that this seems to be kind of a new take on what was a really good, project, basically. And there's no reason not to re-examine it now. I think it'll be interesting to see what the actor chemistry is like, because at the end of the day, I think Chris Carter lucked out with how much chemistry his leads had and how much that ended up like sucking people into the show and keeping them there. But yeah, so that's, I still have fan fiction stories out there. Yeah, it was good. It was good times had by all. So
yeah, I think that's one of the biggest pluses of the show is that chemistry.
Mm-hmm.
You that's what made the show, honestly.
And there was so much. It built community. Like that was it kind of around that same time, 98-ish was when that was the dawn of the internet growth, so that more people were on it, and you could meet people who were nerdy like you in the same way.
But I just mean, the success of the show, I think, really hinged on Duchovny and Anderson and their chemistry. That's it. I don't think it would have been as successful as it was. I mean, look, Doggett and Reyes, they have their own type of chemistry, that works for me. But with those two, I feel like it would have been a completely different show. And I can't see it being, it's that lightning in a bottle.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. That they were able to get with that casting. And you're absolutely right. I think Chris Carter didn't know, obviously, how could he? shooting the pilot and hiring this guy David Duchovny and this girl Gillian Anderson. So, really lucked out on that one. You always luck out on that one when it works out like that, when the casting works out like that.
Yeah, I totally agree with the casting part of this because, I guess I can go next and give my story. So picture it, it's the year 2000. 11-year-old me is watching TV. And so this is back when there were reruns on TV. And I'm pretty sure we're between season 7 and 8 at this point. And I caught a rerun. And it's not the first time I'd ever seen The X-Files, but when I was younger, it scared me a little bit. And I don't even remember which episode it was that scared me. And so I started watching the reruns that came on TV. And then eventually I started walking to the library and checking out DVDs. So my experience is slightly different than Tara's because I actually started watching the series live during season 8. So for me, Doggett and Reyes, the question of, do they work out? I mean, those are the people that I started with live, that is. And I'd obviously seen some of the Mulder and Scully years as I was like watching back through these DVDs. So funny because I guess most 11 and 12-year-olds go to the library and check out books. I checked out books too, but I'm checking out the X-Files and Buffy the Vampire Slayer DVDs. So I'm getting, caught up on that. And I actually have fond memories of seasons 8 and 9. I watched the reboot. I'm one of those people that I'm going to try it all because I really like the property, the concept of it. Just had a major crush on both David Duchovny and Gillian Anderson when I was a kid. I always joke about having a one-sided beef with Taya Leone when I was like 12 years old, which is like the most ridiculous thing ever as an adult. But, you're a kid.
Kids have big feelings, and that's legitimate.
Yeah, and I mean, what's kind of funny about it is the chemistry that Gillian Anderson and David Duchovny both have, I think is amazing. And something that resonates with me is the idea that this is sort of the beginning of the word ship and where that comes from, and why we come together on this particular podcast and what draws us to different shows. Because when I was that age, I understood that there were two characters who would do an awful lot for each other and pretty much go to the end of the earth for each other. But I hadn't made that connection yet. And so for me, I was like, this is really cool stuff. There's aliens and the government is like awful, and just really getting in there. And it was my first sci-fi experience outside of like the Magic School Bus, if you count that. So it's my first sci-fi, and it's my launching pad as now a lifelong sci-fi person. And that's why I'm limited to 2 minutes, because once I get on sci-fi, it's off to the races.
All right, Tim, you want to go next, and then I'll go last.
Yeah, sure. My X-Files, my love for the show, began obviously when I was a kid. In terms of the genre, I've always been a big Star Wars fan from when I was a kid. In fact, I saw the original Star Wars in the theater in what was it, 78 and 82 and whatever it was. And so it started then, and then it just kind of as I'm getting older, the sci-fi thing would pop its head in there every once in a while with Star Trek, the films, the motion picture. I was a little too young to enjoy the original run of Star Trek, the TV show, but later on, I obviously watched all the back episodes, and then it moved into Star Trek: The Next Generation and all the other Star Wars movies, the episodes 1, 2, and 3. And so my sci-fi stuff, and also I got into sci-fi just in general, not only the more commercial things, but 2001 and some of these offerings that were a little bit more auteur or a little bit more involved stories, not quite as broad, but so that started then. I didn't watch the original run of X-Files quite as religiously. That is to say, I watched an episode a season, maybe, if it was on TV. I was just too busy doing, high school teenager stuff, or, being out and about, on Friday nights and whatever. So I picked it up later on, probably after college. I kind of revisited all that stuff. And at that point, I was hooked, and, kind of went through, season by season. And then it got to the point where, after the films came out, I started to kind of want to put it all together. And so I would watch seasons 1, 2, 3, and 4. And I think the film comes in between then.
5.
Oh, 5. Okay. So go to 5 and then the film. I would watch the film and then go back to seasons and try to watch it in continuity, right, in the timeline. And yeah, ever since then, it's just been one of those comfort things. I'll pop an episode on and enjoy it. And it just brings back fond memories for me as far as a story that really had everything from the writing to the execution to the aforementioned chemistry of our two leads to the quality of the guest actors. In fact, one of their first guest actors that I remember, who's a friend of mine and a phenomenal actor, and actually came and did the Mentalist pilot, was Jelko Ivanek. He was an Erlenmeyer Flask. I think that was the name of the. Is that the name of the episode? I think he played the autistic kid with the jet engine, and he had a twin brother. Gosh, I forget what it was.
Is that Roland?
Roland. It is Roland.
Yeah,
Oh no, it's Roland.
yeah.
It's Roland, not Erlenmeyer Flask. Excuse me.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. Yes, it is Roland, and he was Roland. Yeah. So for me, just all of those things, it was that lightning in a bottle for me. It was just a phenomenal show, and that started it off. And like Crystal said, I think with The Mentalist, every year you kind of pick up a couple episodes and you throw it in there, and one episode turns into 2, turns into 5, and turns into a complete rewatch, and then put it on the shelf for a year, and then you revisit it. You know what I mean? It's one of those for me, for sure.
All right. So for me, I think I was 13 when the X-Files started, and my TV viewing was basically shaped by what my parents watched. My parents were basically the ones who got me into sci-fi. We watched The Next Generation every week together, and we watched we liked all the Star Wars movies, all the Star Trek movies, just like Tim. And just, I don't know, I don't remember watching the pilot, but I remember when I did my rewatch a couple years ago, I remembered watching it back then, but I don't have memories of it. I just know that I watched it. I don't know about whether it was during when it would air. And for me, I think I was in middle school, and then I started high school, and then everybody was just talking about X-Files. So it's like this media saturation. They're on all the magazines. I grew up in a really small town. I grew up in Hilo, Hawaii, and even there, you go grocery shopping with your parents, and then all the magazines are on the at the cash register and stuff like that. And they're all over the place, you couldn't get away from them because they were so photogenic too, right? I mean, the two of them together, they had so many memorable photo shoots and everything. So I just remember
Those
always
were
seeing
all
them.
over my dorm room. Yeah.
I actually bought some of those magazines off of somebody on the subreddit, not that long ago too. Somebody posted and they were like, I have these old magazines. Does anybody want them? And I was like, I'll take them. I don't know where I have them though.
What you can't see is that Crystal's wall beside her is just Mulder and Scully now, and she's got hearts on them, kiss marks.
There you go.
But by the time I got to college, I remember seeing the first movie in theaters, very upset with bees, still upset with bees. And then the whole thing about David Duchovny, his whole salary thing, and he was kind of minimalist on the show, and I was just so bummed about that. And then I think when I was my first year in college, that's when the Doggett stuff started, and I just held it against him somehow that David Duchovny wasn't on the show anymore, and I just didn't like him. But when I rewatched a couple years ago, I was like, oh, he's actually kind of cool. He's not that bad.
Yeah.
I don't know why I didn't like him, because he was actually really nice, and he was so supportive of Scully. And I think back then in the 90s, I was just blinded by this whole where is Mulder? I missed his hair. I missed just everything about him.
I think that's the danger too with any reboot, really. I mean, you're going to have a subset of fans that just can't see past any of it, and that's their right. They love the original show, but I think, you, Crystal, have been surprised that right now, you're saying, oh yeah, it wasn't that bad, that they can do a good job, so. And I'm in a unique position to speak of that because I've been in a reboot, so
Yeah.
I understand what that means. So
I think if we can avoid seeing Mulder as an older man drinking green milk out of an alien, then we'll be good. That's just that's the line I'd like to not see crossed.
Right.
Well, I mean, so I think someone said actually, I got this from a friend, so I can't take credit for it, but I think Doggett kind of suffers from not being Mulder. That is, sort of the reaction to him is he's not Mulder.
Sure.
Is he trying to be Mulder? I don't think so. And I think one of the things is, as a Doctor Who fan, something that Doctor Who did very well early on that they were able to keep is this idea that the cast can always change, but it's the concept, right? It's the concept that remains. And I don't know, and I think this goes back to our earlier conversation around the chemistry that Gillian Anderson and David Duchovny bring to the show. I don't know that that's possible necessarily, because I think that's kind of what was going on in the end there, right? If I recall correctly, is more so by season 9, we're sort of looking at the replacements, the new generation of the X-Files. And, fans didn't necessarily take that so well.
Well, I think too, even those guys, Chris and the brain trust over there, they understood that too with the whole Mulder and Scully thing and the Doggett Reyes thing, and they even made a joke about it in that episode. Excuse me, I don't know the titles of them as I he was working with a new partner, Doggett. And at the end, she makes the comment, even Mulder couldn't have solved this because it was your lack of imagination that helped you solve this one. And they know that, they're not delivering Mulder and Scully, but they're going to, make the best of it and present it in a funny way. And I thought that was a great way to be like, look, this isn't Mulder, but this is Doggett, and you're going to have fun with Doggett too. He's going to do good things for the X-Files squad, so.
So are you talking about Alone?
I think that one's Imaginary Friends in season 9. There's a season 9 episode.
No, it was the episode where
it's with Layla.
Yes, it is. It is with Layla. That's who it is.
Because she's in Alone.
Yes. No, it's the one where you said with the kid that imagines things. Is that episode?
Is it Imaginary Friends or something? It's in season 9, and it's when Layla Harrison returns.
Yes, that's the one. Yeah. So I thought that was a great, self-awareness that was displayed and really kind of, again, reinforced my, wow, these guys, know what's going on as far as the reception to fans, and they're listening and they're responding, and they're having a dialogue with their fans, so to speak, within the show too. So I thought that was a nice little, touch that they put in there.
Okay, so I had done my rewatch a couple of years ago because I wanted to watch the revival seasons, and I was like, I don't think I watched all of season 8 and 9, so I got to go back and I got to rewatch it. I got to the end of 8, and I was like, oh my god, that was so perfect. And I started 9, and it just pissed me off so much that Mulder leaves in the first episode. He's not even on camera, and I just all the whole Mulder leaving like feelings came back, and I just stopped right there. And then I watched I think I watched 10. And I didn't like it. And I couldn't bring myself to watch 11 because I had been reading on the subreddit, everybody talking about the My Struggle episodes. And I couldn't continue.
And I don't know if we're going into, discussion territory that you're saving for future, but I think a big reason for that is that the political climate has changed. The world has changed so much since the 90s, right? It's a totally different world. And to have, the original Mulder and Scully, we know them in a certain context. We know them in the 90s context and in the early 2000s context. And for it to suddenly be in 2020 or whatever, 2018 or whatever it was, it just felt like a fish out of water a little bit, is what it felt like. And I think that was the reason. I still enjoyed watching both of them work, though. It's that they still... even with Duchovny with a scratchy voice now, and I still enjoyed that chemistry. You could still see the chemistry there.
Maybe he had just come off of his concert tour or something. He's in a rock band.
Yeah, that's right.
And to be fair, I would watch Gillian Anderson read the phone book.
Sure, no, absolutely. Yeah. So again, you're right. I agree with you, Crystal, that 10 and 11. And it's funny too, because when they bring in and then this goes into a different part of the discussion when they bring in Einstein and the other agent, it gives us a little glimpse. I know they were trying to do a direct sort of Scully Mulder sort of thing, but it also speaks to what's happening now, right? With Danielle Detweiler Himesh. So it could kind of give us a little glimpse into what that might be like. I know Coogler's doing something a little bit different, but it still gave us a quick little preview of what that could be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to move into our recap of the details that we know so far. This project has been in development since 2023, but back in February of this year, it was announced that Hulu had ordered a pilot, and that Ryan Coogler had cast Danielle Deadwyler as his first main star. And then after that, they announced that Himesh Patel was going to be the other star. Oh my god, I was so excited because I love both of them in Station 11. I love Himesh. After I saw Station 11, I was like, I will watch Himesh Patel in anything. So I was pretty excited about that. But Gillian Anderson has expressed enthusiasm for it, saying that the project is in great hands. And she more recently said at AwesomeCon, she said the pilot script is really good. So I thought it was interesting that she's actually seen it. She says, I would say have an open mind and give it a chance because it's going to be effing cool. She says, it's something different and it's special, so give it a break, which is kind of makes me kind of sad because you know that she's already anticipating the backlash from it. So
Yeah. I mean, if you've ever been on her social media accounts and seen the comments, I think that explains a lot.
Which I haven't. Do you want to school me on?
She gets a lot of just obviously fans that love Scully and anything related to the X-Files that comes up. I mean, just a variety of comments in terms of how great she was as Scully, how there could never be anyone better as Scully. Some things that are just a little awkward and weird, frankly. And so she just gets a lot of those comments. And I think as soon as people hear things like reboot, sequel, any of those words, they immediately go to you're trying to replace her and why aren't you upset about this? I mean, I recall when Charmed, for example, was rebooted, and I think it's a really good analogy actually because the original Charmed being, exactly what it was with Shannon Doherty, Holly Marie Combs, Alyssa Milano, and then to reboot that show in the 2010s with a cast of women of color. A lot of just ugly comments came out,
Sure.
and then some comments not necessarily ugly, just we don't want it because we want our original people back. Tell me about the Hollowell sisters as we know them. And, I think a lot of that just naturally comes out in those comments.
I think just to address that a little bit, I think that, it was a different time when all these shows really, the golden age of television, right? It was a different time than we live in now. It's 20 years ago, right? 30 years ago in some cases.
Oh God.
No, correct. But
we're not that old.
Yeah, but now, it is that thing of, and we do this, we're guilty of doing this all the time, is we overcorrect. We see these things and we overcorrect and we overdo it. And, I am a minority in this business. I'm not white. And so I understand what that means, but there are certain things, and I'm not saying that it applies in this case or in the Charmed case. That's the other thing. Every show that they decide to reboot or reimagine or relaunch is its own thing, right? You have to take it case by case. But yeah, just this tendency to overcorrect and change stories and do this thing just for the sake of doing it rather than really finding a reason to do it is where I get lost a little bit sometimes with the decision makers, right? And I don't know what that is. I have no problem with multicultural casting or anything like that. In fact, I'm a big fan of it as a person of color myself. But in every instance, it has to make sense story wise. I'm an actor, out there, first and foremost, and it has to inform the story. And if you can figure a way out for that casting to inform the story, more power to you. If you're doing it just to do it, then you're going to come up with some, you're going to come up against, and that's where I think a lot of the pushback comes from, is that it's just this across the board, willy-nilly sort of decision to do it, not how can it make sense storytelling wise. They're putting the cart before the horse a little bit, I think.
And I just actually wanted to pick up on that too, because I also, some of the pushback does come from minority communities as well, but also from the viewpoint. Yep. Yeah, the viewpoint of well, what about stories, for example, from Asian American creators or African American creators, from different creators who are of minority backgrounds. Like, there are other stories out there to be told. So do we necessarily have to just retell this one story using this particular casting, or is there a reason, or how does this play in? And yeah, I definitely take the point of, there should be a reason, and for us to, I mean, not just a reason, but like, we can't just like keep recreating.
And while we're talking about sort of the casting and the acting, that necessarily brings up the topic of what we look like. That is a component of this particular form of art. This craft is the actors themselves are what we're displaying. I'm not a painter sitting in my room, working on a sketch of something, or a photographer taking a photo. It's us. We are the ones that are out there. And what I've been taught since I was an actor just starting out was that we should be able to play any character we want to play, but we don't act in a vacuum. We don't act. We act in a political climate. We act in society. So my point in bringing that up is that ultimately, I think we should be able to play whatever character we can play, but politics come into play. And so for us to start kind of dicing up, the casting as it's happening now with, for example, the X-Files and people of color being, I think that's a great conversation to have. I think we've lost sight a little bit sometimes with this kind of thing, but hopefully in this specific instance, we'll see some good things from Danielle and Himesh.
Are we going to see you on the X-Files?
I'd love it. I'd love to. Yeah. So if
the fan, Ryan, come on now,
Mr. Coogler, if you want to bring me out there.
Yeah, we're gonna start the Tim Kang on X-Files reboot campaign right now.
And I have to say, I just thought of the thing that is my greatest and saddest regret, which is, as I said, I didn't become a fan until the movie, right? But I remember very clearly the radio, like on the radio, the local station. At the time I lived in Chilliwack, which was about an hour and a half outside of Vancouver. And I remember them basically saying, anyone who wants to come be part of the finale episode of season 5 can come down to, because it was the chess match. And they did it at the arena. And I remember hearing it and being like, oh, that's cool. Because at the time, so I also trained as an actor. I don't work as an actor now, but I did go to theater school. And I remember, and so going from high school where that was one of my like side things, I was like, oh, that'd be fun. But I don't know, X-Files, whatever. And then later I was like,
oh, that was the opportunity. Yeah, right.
Like, just to have been there. And then by the time I loved the show, it wasn't here anymore. So late.
Sarah.
I have been inside Mrs. Mulder's house.
Very good.
Yeah. I was in a play with a guy. It was his house.
Oh, he rented it out. Yeah, to the production.
They rented it out. It's a great house. And I was like, oh, this is Mrs. Mulder's house. Very great. I was very mature and did not fangirl at all. It was fine.
Okay, so going back to the recap, David Duchovny hasn't said much past wishing them good luck, and Chris Carter has stated that he's not involved, but he is cheering them on. And I think he's going to have a EP credit, but that's about it. Concept discussion. So let's speculate a little bit. I had written down we can speculate what kind of reboot it's going to be, whether it's going to be same characters, new cast, new characters, same concept, or a fully revamped sequel reboot. But then I read in the Deadline article about the supporting cast people they announced, and it states that the 2 leads are going to play 2 highly decorated but vastly different FBI agents who form an unlikely bond when they are assigned to a long-shuttered division devoted to cases involving unexplained phenomena. So it sounds like it's more like a sequel, right?
Like the X-Files has been closed down for a long time.
Well, I think it's X-Files: The Next Generation.
Yeah.
Even though there's Fringe, me and Neoshia would argue that Fringe is comes after X-Files,
and we will.
What do you mean? TV show Fringe?
Yeah, okay, yes. Okay. So I asked you if you had watched Fringe, and the reason I asked that is because
I have not yet.
Okay, yeah. So you really should check that out. And excuse me and Neoshia, because we're probably going to lean on you really heavily to watch this show, because it's Tara, have you seen it? I can't remember if you answered me.
I haven't. I'm
I
with
think
Tim.
that was wasn't that filmed in Vancouver too?
It was filmed in Vancouver after
Everything
season
filmed
1.
in Vancouver. Okay.
Seasons 2 through 5 are in Vancouver.
But yeah, so Fringe. When did Fringe start? Neoshia is
2008.
really, yeah, she's really good with years. If I want to know the year something came out, Neoshia knows. But yeah, Fringe is like kind of like a child of X-Files. It's Monster of the Week in the first season, and it's got a really strong myth arc. It's complete at 5 seasons, and it's really, really good. It's perfect for X-Files fans. So it's got like.
But that's not X-Files Next Generation. It's not the same DNA. What I mean is it's X-Files. It's the show. I mean, it's literally the same show. Like Star Trek: The Next Generation is the same show as the original Star Trek, right? The same mythology, the same world. You're talking about a completely different show.
Well, they do reference X-Files twice in Fringe.
Yeah.
So I'm going to stretch it a little bit and say it's tangentially related in the same universe.
Yeah, I mean, like, so if you took the chassis of the X-Files and then built a show in the late 2000s off of it, it would be Fringe. And so I totally take your point, Tim, in terms of it's not the Star Trek Next Generation.
Oh, no. Did Chris Carter make Fringe?
No, but people who worked on X-Files went on to work on Fringe. I think Darren Morgan was a consulting producer for Fringe for like the first 2 seasons or something that I want to say. But yeah, there's a couple other people who worked on Fringe, but you can really feel the X-Files vibe in Fringe, and it just feels more modern and more updated. So
yeah, it's more I don't want to say more sci-fi, but it kind of feels like it's a different type of sci-fi, because whereas I believe the X-Files has a political message or is working with a political message, Fringe isn't necessarily working with a political message as much as it is one about humanity.
Yeah. It's about the human condition, basically. Yeah.
Also, I just want to flag that out of the Mentalist bullpen, Crystal and I have kind of started a cult of getting people to watch Fringe.
I think we've chatted.
And are you being successful?
Oh yeah, we've chatted through like maybe like I think 4 or 5 people now who have gone through the whole show while we chat them through it. But yeah.
And obviously in 2008 you were pretty busy with other things. So it ran from like 2008 to 2013 on Fox.
Ah, gotcha. Okay.
But I mean, going by your sci-fi, I think it would be perfect for you. So
yeah, no, I appreciate the recommendation. I will definitely give it a go. Yeah, and as far as this new one, this this sort of next generation idea, I think it's interesting because watching Station 11 and watching both our coming leads that are going to be leading the new show. It was interesting, the qualities, at least in that, and they're actors; they can play whatever characters that they need to. But what you had assigned me to watch in that show, it was interesting to see the qualities of Himesh match Duchovny's qualities. Pretty much, there's a softness to him. There's an introspection. There's it reminded me of Duchovny. As far as him as a person, right? And the way he played Mulder, right? So, and then the same thing with Detweiler is that there was something about Scully. They're both petite women. They're both firebrands and ready to kick butt and do and it was, to me, pretty smart of Coogler to at least get that essence right, because with, for example, Doggett. They weren't trying to match Duchovny's energy at all when they cast Doggett. They wanted to go a completely other direction with that character. In fact, he swaps spots, right? Doggett is basically Scully, right? Skeptical about everything. And so, but I think in this, what I can see at least so far in my crystal ball is trying to match that energy at the very least, even though it's going to be a new energy, in the hopes, I think, of that chemistry happening again, right?
So did you watch 1 and 3, or did you watch the whole show?
I just watched 1 through 3, 1, 2, and 3. And I've seen the entire show, but when it came out a long time ago. But I rewatched it to talk about it today. and I know this isn't a Station 11 conversation, but yeah, it was good. I remember enjoying it. It wasn't necessarily as a whole my cup of tea, but certainly everything about it, and it's an HBO show. Everything about it was top notch, top quality, top to bottom. But yeah, there were elements that I bumped up against for sure. But that's a separate discussion.
It's an interesting point about HBO and sort of like the quality, because I think that's in a lot of conversations right now in terms of who's making the best shows or who has the best shows. And I think HBO and Apple TV Plus are like in those conversations a lot. But it makes me curious in terms of this particular, product or project. Will it be on Disney Plus? Is it going to be something that, enters
Isn't
those
it that it was going to be on
conversations?
Hulu?
Yeah,
Is it on Hulu
Hulu.
specifically?
It's on Hulu. Yeah.
Although I think things that are on Hulu are on D
Disney
Plus too. Yeah.
But I mean, there's things on Hulu that are sort of the high art kind of A24 type stuff, and then there's total broad Big Bang Theory type stuff as well. So Hulu's kind of a great home, I think, for this new one, because one of the great things, and we're going to go back to that same discussion, I think, is that sort of dramedy aspect of it, right? It's not this super high up there dramatic sort of thing, and it's also not a full out and out comedy sitcom thing either. So I think Hulu strikes that great balance of this new X-Files potentially. So.
Yeah, I think they have they're a really good home for it too, because I mean they did the Shogun reboot, and then
They do have some high art kind of high artsy
and
kind
then
of.
they tackled an existing property when they did Alien Earth too. So, and I enjoyed that. So
he's going the other direction, really broad alien, which I love. I loved both of those shows, and that's interesting that Hulu can hold both of those types of shows.
Yeah.
So.
It sort of goes back though, Crystal, in our last Lucifer podcast, we were talking about the difference in season lengths, because Lucifer started on, Fox on TV and has every season is a different length. But then when Netflix picked it up, it went from like the bloated monstrosity of season 3 to like 8 episodes. And, with X-Files, all its years, it more or less stuck to that like 22 episode structure, which people don't make anymore. So it'll be kind of interesting to see how, because, I see that they say they're going to do the Monster of the Week stuff and the Myth Arc stuff. But in the X-Files, they had a lot of room to play with those things. Sure. So that you didn't feel necessarily like the narrative arc was being either rushed or held back by doing a Monster of the Week or by, so it'll be, I'm just curious to see what if they end up ordering a full season, what that season will look like. Because also those little baby seasons that they did, for 10 and 11 were like, they were like little hiccups. They weren't even
like 6 episodes in season 10, I think, and 8 or was it a full 10?
And as we're having this shifting over to the episode count as far as seasons, I mean, all that is economics. That's all.
Oh, absolutely. I totally know, but
honestly, Coogler comes up and goes, you know what? I've got a story to tell, and it's going to take 10 episodes. Well, you're going to need to tell that story in 8 episodes, because that's what we got for you. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't serve the art. The art always serves the economics. Unfortunately.
Oh, absolutely. I just think it'll be interesting to take a show that, came to its life in a 22 episode universe. And
those days are over.
Oh, I know. I know.
Those days are long gone.
I'm of two minds. I have like two things to say, because I'm kind of 2 minds about this. On one hand, this has happened in recent times with like Criminal Minds, for example, where the first like 15 seasons are on CBS, and
that's hilarious that you even just said that sentence, that the first 15 seasons. There's no show right now that will ever do that again. Yeah. Anyway, I'm sorry.
I just watched a season 27 episode of SVU today. So
there's still 20 episodes, right?
Grey's Anatomy. Yeah. Those are legacy shows that we'll never have those again. Yeah. No. I'm sorry. Please continue. Yeah.
With Criminal Minds, actually it's the first 13, because 14 and 15 were truncated. But the first 13 seasons of Criminal Minds are the 20 to 24 episodes. And in fact, season 4 is like
still
26.
Funny to me.
But the more recent seasons, so seasons 16 and I think 19 is the one that's no wait. Season 19, yeah, I think is the one that's starting next week. They're on Paramount Plus and they're shorter. And so they're
Sure.
like 10 episodes now. And it
Sure.
works because they changed the format. But
Sure.
there's been so much conversation around like it's the economics, but then that's one thing I wanted to highlight about Fringe, for example. I don't know the background of that show, but I can tell you this. It is one of those shows where every season after season 1 on Twitter, there was a fan campaign to save the show because it was on the bubble of getting canceled.
Always.
And so like I don't know what happened behind the scenes. I'm not one of those like here's what happened. But what I can tell you is they did 100 episodes exactly. They had 5 seasons, 100 episodes exactly, and it was from book end to book end, and they finished it. And so I do think maybe there is something to be said about.
And that was Fringe? Is that
Fringe.
Yeah.
Well, that used to be the magic number, right, for syndication.
Right. So I mean, like, but I think there's something to be said about having like this tight. If you're trying to tell a story, having this tight beginning and end point, maybe. But I think to one of the points and something we love about the X-Files, we don't get a lot of the development that we get without the Monster of the Week episodes. And so that's why I say I'm of two minds, because as a fan, I love having the character development episodes, or as a David Duchovny fan, the opportunity for him to write episodes and direct episodes. I don't know that you get that in these like really short seasons. So
no, you don't get it. It's not that you don't know. You don't. Will never happen. The only time you will get it, actually, no, let me back off of that a little bit. The only time you will get it is if you're making the same show again now that you've already made, then the creatives can get in there and actually write and direct. And case in point is Pitt, right? Pitt is literally ER, right? That show is ER. It's a grittier ER. And so they know how to... They know it's grosser, yeah. But they know how to do that show because they did 15 seasons of it back in the 90s or whenever it originally ran. So this is not a heavy lift for them to do Pitt. And so in that sense, Noah Wyle can get in there and direct. He can get in there and write episodes. And, so... And they only have, I think they have 15 episodes. They have 15 episode seasons.
16.
And yet they bang it out in a year. I was really surprised that they have such a long season.
Comment that we don't get that. I guess I need to correct myself. We do get it in, for example, the Pit, but we've already done the Pit, right? But a brand new show, I don't know that would be possible. As you've pointed out, I don't think that would be possible either.
I feel like we have to say allegedly it's ER, even though we all kind of know it's ER, because I don't think that the Crichton estate has settled.
Yeah, aren't they still?
Yeah, there's like a lawsuit or something. So
is there a lawsuit?
The Crichton estate has filed a lawsuit.
Yeah, I didn't. I had no idea.
It's ER adjacent. ER.
And if they're gonna go to the lengths of putting together a lawsuit for this, then it's pretty similar. Then there's gotta be.
I think it's because his wife got.
Where there's smoke, there's gotta be some fire a little bit.
His wife got cut out of the production, right?
Oh, okay.
Basically, yeah. So they had, and by they, I guess Noah Wyle and John Wells, or maybe some of the other people behind production of ER, had been in conversation with the Crichton estate, which I believe his wife is sort of the head of the estate, or the executor, rather, of the estate. And so they'd been in conversation about rebooting ER. And then at some point, the allegation goes that she was cut out of that. And then they have this new show called The Pit, which is set in Pittsburgh and looks a lot like ER, but kind of like 24.
Correction, it's in Hawaii.
Oh, yeah. It's a Pittsburgh themed show in Hawaii. I forgot. You're right.
Yeah. So I regardless of, look, and we can, argue both sides and whatever else and discuss it. But, we have eyeballs, and our eyeballs are connected to our brains, and we can see the similar DNA there. And as far as the court battle and whatever else they're doing, that has nothing to do with us. But the idea that I saw every single ER episode in the 90s, and I've seen every Pit episode now, and I feel like it's the
same show.
In fact, it's the same doctor. Noah Wyle is in both shows. So come on, let's not Let's call a spade here, please.
Yeah, when the John Carter movies came out, I just couldn't get out of my head that where's Noah Wiley?
Yeah, Dr. Carter. Yeah, sure. Right.
Yeah, like there's a character they introduced in the second season. She shows up and I'm like, I see you, Carrie Weaver. That's Carrie Weaver right there.
Sure.
Like
No.
same.
And
Yeah.
and look, it's genius. I mean, it's genius. And why wouldn't you do it? That's the other thing. Why wouldn't you? If you can pull it off and be successful, like the Pit has. And I think the reason why Gillian Anderson and Duchovny and they're being a little bit more reserved for is, I think, partly because they have a little bit of ownership kind of grief there, right? Letting their stuff go, letting go of it. I think that's there, but I think that's also because it's a tough thing to reboot anything. And again, I say this from experience. It's tough to reboot something and have it be successful. And it's like the toughest, but you would think that it would be the easiest, right? Because it's a proven IP.
But you can't escape the comparison game.
But you
And
can't
that,
escape- Sure. So that's where that's the rub,
Or the
so.
nostalgia game even, right? Because
Mhm.
like a lot of times it's people hanging on to like
Sure.
what they really enjoyed and to see these new folks come on
Yeah.
and
And again, I'm very interested. I'm reserving judgment for the new X-Files, but it's also, again, I can't get away from the way the world was back then when the original X-Files ran and the way the world is now. I think that, Crystal, you had a talking point in here discussing the I think it was the political climate, or no, I'm sorry, the government conspiracy.
Yeah.
I just don't know that that's going to work. If Coogler kind of leans into the government conspiracy stuff, because nobody trusts the government now at all. Back then we didn't. Nobody's ever really trusted the government. I'll give you that. That's fine. Back in the 50s and 40s, that I get that, but it has not been to the extent that it is now.
Yeah.
And so we
we
didn't have
could
24 news coverage, right?
Correct.
So
And we could do the government conspiracy stuff and find some compelling storylines within that. Now, all those compelling storylines are on CNN and Fox. We're seeing that in real time. And so who cares? We don't care. We know the government is conspiring as citizens of this country. We know that's happening. Back in the 90s and 2000s, it was still kind of like, I kind of trust the government. They're going to do right by us, etc.
Right.
No. So we'll see. Well, I don't know. It's a heavy lift, and hopefully they can pull it off.
plus, like back in the 90s, we could just live our lives, and like the political government conspiracy stuff was limited to entertainment. It was entertaining.
Sure.
Now it's just like, oh god, this is exhausting. I'm already exhausted.
No, but well, think about it this way: the storylines back then were, the government, assassinates somebody or kills somebody, extrajudicial sort of killing, and we just did that. In Venezuela, the Venezuela Boca. I mean, come on, we're literally doing that right now. Back then, it was this shocker on a TV show called The X-Files. Now you turn on CNN and see that episode happening in real time. So there's no government conspiracy stuff.
Where are you, Mulder and Scully now?
Yeah, right. When we need them most,
But that makes me wonder too, if the concept is, the X-Files division has been shuttered and these new agents reopen it, right? There's got to be some continuity between the way it was set up before, but how do you bring that into this cultural environment now? And I mean, I can see possibilities, but I think that's a big question mark, and it's got to be something that's plausible enough that people won't go like, nah. Again, we already know there's aliens. They unredacted that stuff.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, I think we did see a quick preview of it with the Agent Einstein and the other guy. We saw a little preview of what that could be like, and they acted their butts off. But to me, it wasn't a compelling sort of thing. That. So and certainly a lot of it has to do with the writing and what the words that were given to these two actors, but we'll see. Again, I think it's not enviable position. It's tough.
I'm going to move us to the Ryan Coogler quote. He said, "Some of those episodes, if we do our jobs right, will be really effing scary. We're going to try to make something really great and really be something for the real X-Files fans and maybe find some new ones." So it kind of seems like he's going to be maybe, hopefully, I mean, focusing more on like Monster of the Week kind of horror kind of thing. So
Yeah, and I mean, like, I think the question is, do we have to have like this big myth arc about the government? Because the way that, I agree with Tim. Like, what they were trying to do with those two new agents really was to sort of change the guard, show us the new Mulder and Scully of the FBI. Because I mean, they literally look like them, right? Like they're younger counterparts,
That's the
but
conspiracy.
right, and like
They did clones before, and they'll do them again.
But like, if you're going to change the guard, you have to change the guard.
Mhm.
And like, this is something I'm thinking about daily in my career, is like, if you're changing the guard, what does that mean? And usually it's not repeating the same thing over and over again, right? Because my experience growing up, and what the government and how much we trust the government is, I'm sorry, it's in the depths of hell. I came of age during 9/11, and like in the immediate aftermath of 9/11, and so like I don't have the post Cold War experience. I have the post 9/11 experience. And so if you're going to change the guard, you have to change the narrative, at the very least, around this conspiracy. But I agree, like, we turn on the news. I can't get on any social media without hearing something wild that actually happened. So unless you're going to one up that, I think you kind of have to change the direction of that
Didn't they
particular.
say that with House of Cards? Didn't they say like that was like they just couldn't keep up with reality anymore? Like they were just like, what are you doing? The thing that we thought was the craziest thing we've ever done is just like being one-upped on TV. So
okay, so that actually brings me to The Boys. The Boys just recently finished their whole series, and that's one show where like some of the seasons politically it was just a little too close to home. I was just getting kind of sick of it. Like around season, I think it was 2 or 3.
Which show is this?
The
The Boys.
Boys.
The Boys.
Yeah. So, and then this final season, Eric Kripke had said, "Oh, there's going to be people accusing us of being psychic," because he knew from based on what they had filmed for the final season, and based on things that were happening in reality, like this year, he was like, "Ooh, this is a little creepy." We were kind of predictive here, and he's been posting pictures of comparisons from reality and from the show, and he's like, "Oh, this is actually kind of scary because."
Well, look, The Simpsons has been doing that for 30 years, so we're not.
we're our President Lisa. Come on.
I'm going to give Kripke his due, but that you're not the first one where life imitates art. So.
No, but yeah, like just that's a really good example of a show where it's just it starts feeling a little too close to reality and it just feels kind of icky, and you just don't really enjoy it after a while, so it stops being entertainment.
I mean,
I haven't even.
we do this kind of stuff to escape reality a little bit and just take a quick break, a breather, and really lose ourselves in some of these great stories and these great heroes. But when it matches up, we're looking out our window, it ceases to be entertaining.
Right. It's kind of like Avenue 5.
And sometimes when things get a little too dark, it's just too much for me. Like that's why I quit The Walking Dead. That's why I quit Dexter. It just gets too dark and it's just not fun anymore, So
honestly,
it's funny.
For me, I'm kind of a mood guy. Sometimes I want that just
wallow.
Yeah, and just get in there and feel like but sometimes you just want to turn on an episode and like go do some laundry, come back in and watch these awesome beautiful people, and you know what I mean. So it's kind of a mood based thing for me, but so I'm a all equal opportunity viewer.
I mean, I like dark stuff, but I apparently have limits. So
sure,
Yeah.
of course.
I was going to say too, I just want to plug, because I don't know if you guys ever watched the show. First off, it only got 2 seasons, but there was a really funny thing that happened during lockdown with Avenue 5, which I don't think, so it's predictive in a sense. So the first season of the show was filmed prior to COVID-19. And there's a scene in the show where people are quite literally choosing to get into they're in space. So they're quite literally choosing to get into an airlock and yeeting themselves out into space and dying. And because
I
they
feel like I
won't.
vaguely know
Is
this one.
this the Hugh Laurie show?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
okay.
Okay,
And
I didn't see that one then. Okay.
it was funny because like it's filmed pre-COVID, and it's kind of predicting the human condition in the sense that like even though people have been told and they are seeing these people just like, getting out into space and immediately dying out of this airlock, they're still choosing to get in the airlock. Like they're not choosing they're not choosing to take the precautions or anything like that. And so this is literally airing during the COVID lockdown, like the first lockdown. And so it wasn't even on purpose. It was just, this is what people would probably do, and they weren't wrong.
Right.
Masks? What masks?
Yeah.
Yeet?
All right, so our next topic is speculation on what does the reboot have to do to keep the basic essence of X-Files while also bringing something new to the table. So I had put in Fringe here too, but we had talked about this a bit already. But I felt like Fringe did kind of do this already. They took the basic premise or the foundation of X-Files and they kind of modernized it. They made it a little sexier, a little more graphic. And then the myth arc I felt was really strong in Fringe. Yeah. Neoshia, you're
I
nodding.
mean, but this is where I go from. It was 100 episodes, so beginning to end, and then as I,
You guys
it's so
are
like,
really selling me on Fringe right now. I'm
You're
gonna.
gonna get back
So-
from
I wish, like J.J. Abrams should be paying me at this point.
I gotta
but-
cut it this too, right?
Yeah,
You just
like-
made him $5 when I watched the show. This week. So.
yeah. So I mean, it's. I think having that tight narrative, because I like the X-Files. I rewatch Fringe probably about once a year, and now that I've seen it multiple times, it makes total sense from start to beginning. Like there are a few things I think that maybe they retconned or they changed part of the way through, because as situations with actors and schedules and everything changed, so too does the show. But I think that's part of having that tight arc. They were able to do something that made sense, and if you watch it from the beginning to end, it changes a lot. But once you rewatch it, you're like, oh, in season 1, they're already showing you what's happening here.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I, as I've mentioned, I have not watched all of X-Files, but I've watched Fringe 4 times. I just finished a rewatch, and so it's something that I Neosha says all the time that X-Files walked so Fringe could run. That's like her motto when we're trying to get people to watch it.
I
But-
think it's true. I mean, I love the X-Files, obviously, so this is not me knocking the X-Files, but I think if you're looking at the 90s and sort of what is happening in the world and like culture or on TV shows.
Where was I to completely miss this Fringe thing? You guys,
probably
it aired
working.
What
on
is this?
Fox.
What is the Fringe show you speak of so
Wait,
highly?
so have you never heard of it?
No, I've heard of it, but this is the extent that I've heard of it. That from the title, I go, "Oh yeah, Fringe. Isn't that half-hour sitcom that Bill Cosby or whoever?" Oh, that's a bad reference at this point, but yeah, that's the extent of it. I've heard the term Fringe in relation to a TV show, but beyond that, I haven't heard any. In fact, the J.J. Abrams thing, I didn't really. I think maybe in the back of my mind, I knew that was his show, but not really. So almost next to none, to answer your question, Crystal.
It's actually created by Alex Kurtzman and Bob Arce.
Mhm.
So
Okay,
It's
sure.
a bad robot show, though.
yeah.
Right.
And it's apparently a really like shows led by Australians. It's got Anna Torv and John Noble.
yeah. I like Anna Torv. You know what? That's
Joshua
what
Jackson.
I do remember is Anna Torv, and I loved her in Mindhunter. And,
Mindhunter, yeah.
so yes,
Another
she's
favorite
great.
of ours.
Yeah. I only really watched Mindhunter because she was in it. So
Yeah,
I
and
ended up
she
really
knocked
liking
it out
it.
of the
So.
park because she's exactly that character, that doctor character. Sorry, I know it's not about Mindhunter, but they should do one more season to close things up.
Thank
Sorry,
you.
this is not a Mindhunter discussion, but they need one more. So.
I
Anyway.
agree.
I mean,
and
there was an article like last year about what's holding it up, and I think it's Fincher. So
Yeah,
what it
he's
is
what
Yes.
held up
about.
season 3 because he wanted to do allegedly, this is what the reporting showed. He was looking towards a new project, and so that's why there wasn't a season 3 after season 2. The contracts expired. I was a little upset about that, if you couldn't tell.
Mhm.
And Neoshia,
Sorry.
like just the guy. What was the guy who played Gary on Paradise? What did I tell you? Who did I tell you he was? He was the serial killer guy on No Mindhunter. Which
Oh.
which serial killer was he?
You're the serial killer on Mindhunter. That was
No,
like,
no,
There's a
the
bunch
big
of them.
the big guy. You know the big guy
yeah,
that he's
he
in the room
played,
with at the end.
Kemper. He played Ed Kemper.
Yeah, Kemper. That's right.
Yeah.
Oh, Ed Kemper, yeah.
Yeah, he's Gary on Paradise.
So the fun fact about me is I watch all these shows with serial killers in them, and I don't know my serial killers. I'm not a true crime person, so I don't
I'm
know any of them.
true crime guy. Yeah.
Yeah, I used to read a lot of Crime Library when I was in college.
Yeah.
I don't. Have you guys ever heard of that website?
Mm-mm.
Mhm.
Yeah, it was this true crime website where they had all the cases for all these different things, like Jack the Ripper and like
Oh, yeah.
BTK and all those things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think if we keep if Kugler and his team manages to keep a sort of tight rein on the production, and I mean obviously they probably won't get that many episodes given where we are with episode counts and orders. I think if they keep a rein on just sort of the storytelling, it will be concise, and I think that probably makes for a good story if we're going with the myth arc.
Yeah, and I'm intrigued by his characterization that the stories will be really fun, scary. Like I don't know what that means. I mean, what that reminds me of is that what do you call it? That episode in season 11, I think it was, when those two girls were
Oh yeah,
fighting against each other, and it
Bully.
was yeah. Like, oh, scary, and I was like, is it going to be that? Like, are we going to have a lot more monsters like that? I mean, is that so?
But I think a lot of the X-Files was looking at like the sort of deep human fears, like things like, cancer is a deep human fear, right? So like when Scully is going through, like it's a very, it makes me wonder if he purposefully said, scary, maybe that is the angle that they can use to bring it into where we are now, rather than thinking about it in the political context of post-Cold War and all that stuff. If you can kind of tease out the things that scare us now and how those might have changed or stayed the same from the late 90s, and then have that be the angle, like no anvils over the head, but if that's the angle, then I think you could potentially find that zeitgeist moment with it that I think the original had.
So I had given homework. I wanted you guys to name your personal scariest episodes from the original. For me, it's Sanguinarium, which
Oh yeah.
that's the
Yep.
The plastic
the
surgery one.
Yes, the
Yeah.
one where they're like in the beginning
Yeah.
they're like stabbing
Yeah,
the
yeah.
person with the suction tube. Oh my god.
Oh God, yeah! Wow, that image just came flooding back into my mind.
I'd have to say mine is it's kind of comes to this day, and in fact, this is the episode that I kind of skip because it's disturbing. Is Home.
Oh, I knew you're gonna say Home.
Oh,
A lot
man.
of people say Home.
Yeah, it was, and I think it was disturbing when I saw it originally, like 15 years ago or whatever it was, 20 years ago. And to this day, when I rewatch stuff, yeah, I'll just skip over it because it was kind of like, I get it, I just don't need to be reminded of it, So I've seen it a few times. It's not like I, saw it once and never watched it again. I saw it a few times, and then it was kind of like, okay, I don't need to see that one anymore.
The house in Home is actually in an episode of Fringe.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, very good. Yeah, because they're all shot at the same place. So.
Yeah. I think it's season 2, episode 2, isn't it?
I think so.
The Fringe episode
Fringe
is
one. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Crystal.
Anyway, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I think my scariest episode, this is going to be weird because I guess it's not really scary. It's more scary in a sense of something that I appreciate in sci-fi and something I appreciate in Ryan Coogler's work, especially like in Sinners. But Excelsis Day, That's the one from season 2 where
The old folks
the
home.
nurse,
Old folks
yeah, the nurse is sexually assaulted and
I did a play with Saab Shimono, the Asian guy. Yeah.
yeah, and that's another one of those things too where that probably wouldn't, I don't know. There's like some things in X-Files that happen, especially around like the culture. I think in the 90s where people are trying to bring culture into TV shows and then sort of the modern look back on those is not so great.
What do you
In
mean
terms of
culture?
like, so there's a couple of episodes of the X-Files where what's it, it's the is it the money,
Hell
it's I
Bunny.
can't remember. Hell Money, that's it. Taliko. There's a couple different episodes where they're
Don't like
oh
Bad Law. Bad Law
Yeah,
is
it's
yeah,
pretty overt. Yeah, it's pretty like kind of
where they're trying to, I think,
hit me over the head with it for sure. You know?
yeah, I think their intentions weren't bad
No,
necessarily, but they look from a modern perspective not to be
I
great.
agree. Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
very cringy.
Yeah, and Lucy Liu trying to pull off an accent in Hell Money and just not, it's a little bit, but it was interesting to see her just starting out on an episode of X-Files, I have to say. It's really
Yeah,
nice.
or in ER too, because like she played a woman
Yeah,
in ER where she couldn't speak English, and I
right.
think her something happened with her baby. Anyway, sorry, I digressed.
No. We're talking about the same. Yeah, exactly.
My scary one is actually, I find the Emily arc.
Oh
Like,
yeah, right.
the idea of being like having something bodily autonomy and then having it taken and then finding and then not, the whole thing just is like my personal like nightmare fuel. And also because I feel like, I'm not that worried about running into Bigfoot, but yeah.
And then the other one I was just going to mention that you reminded me of was even though it was like strawberry jam and stuff for the blood, was Chinga. Do you remember that episode?
The
Yes.
troll one. Oh god.
Yeah, and that was a
Chucky.
Stephen King one, yeah, and that was pretty creepy, and with the song and all that. But like you would see, it was funny because when they were doing this, the clawing at their eyes, it was literally like corn syrup. You know what I mean? Just the worst makeup. But it was
They
still kind
didn't
of like,
win for that one.
yeah. Anyway, sorry.
Another one for me is, I don't know if I'm pronouncing this, but Unruhi, the one with the photographs. That actually has Per Taylor Vince in it.
Yeah,
But the part that
Documentary.
freaks me out is, how he gets Scully by like injecting her from underneath the car. Oh god, that freaks me out
Yeah.
so much.
That's the creepy stuff, yeah, for sure. Yeah, they really, at times they really leaned into that sort of what is sort of people's worst fears, or getting into that, and they capitalized on our fears in a great way.
And in a way that was not necessarily like trying to sell you on the gore,
right, sure,
like corn syrup aside, but like, which I always think is much creepier. The first Alien movie, so much creepier when you don't actually see the alien. As soon as you see it, you're like, oh, I can name that. That's fine. But when you don't know the thing that's coming for you, or it's brains will do crazy things.
Yeah, we talk about that all the time. Yep.
Like a lot of actually, I feel this way about a lot of horror movies, especially from the 70s, like the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Halloween. It's the effects they have to use aren't like the CGI type effects we have today. And so it makes the storytelling and like how you get there, at least as a viewer, it makes it such that part is what makes it more scary than
It's
the,
way more interesting. Yeah. The way they did it. Yeah. And then, with all the technology, we just got lazy. And then you have Saw 11, you know what I mean? Like that's or Saw 15 or however, whatever.
Cut off all their limbs. There's nothing else.
And look, they're making boatloads of money. That's why there are 15 of them. But, is it lazy? Yeah, I could be argued that it is a little bit, I think, but yeah.
Jaws with Sharknado.
Yeah.
Okay, Tim has to go soon, so I want to spring like one little thing on you guys. I can't let you guys go without a quiz, right?
Oh no!
I knew there was gonna be a quiz. I knew there was a quiz.
I have 8, but I will cut it down to 5. Basically, I'm gonna give a line, and you guys, whoever can tell me first what episode it's from, you get a point. Okay, we'll try to breeze through these really quickly. Sure, fine, whatever.
Oh, that was in the vampire one.
Bad Blood.
Wasn't it Bad Blood? No.
No.
Oh no, it was in the one with Bambi.
John?
Bambi.
War of the Coprophages.
Oh yeah.
No.
He's coming up with ideas, and I'm just naming the episodes.
Naming them, it's great. So we're going to get half a point each.
It's
Don't say anything. Don't say. Yeah, I know this. I literally just watched this. Fine,
she
sure,
snaps
whatever.
her glove. Sure, fine, whatever.
Yeah.
I quote it all the time. I just don't know.
Right.
Yeah. Sure, fine, whatever.
Is it?
Yeah, I don't remember.
Is it Sigi?
It's Syzygy. Yes, it's Syzygy.
Yeah.
It's the one where like they cross into the town and they're all grouchy at each other.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
I don't know how to pronounce that word.
You get to keep that whole point because I didn't come up with any help there.
But Tim, teamwork makes the dream work.
You
Right?
would think.
All right. Number 2. Do you have any idea what liver and onions go for on reticulum?
Reticulum. Yeah, that was Mulder that said that, and that was to.
It's from season 1.
Ooh.
Yeah. Oh, the one where he was helping out his. Wait a minute. No, that's not right. Yeah, I know the line. Can't remember it.
Is it fire?
No. Tara, do you have a guess?
No.
It's from Squeeze.
Oh.
Oh, yeah, Mr. Toombs.
Yeah.
All right.
Great
Oh,
episode.
that makes sense. Yeah.
Okay, I actually had to look this one up. I knew the line, but I didn't know the episode. But all the other ones I knew on my own. So number 3, whatever tape you found in that VCR isn't mine.
That's
That's
a
one of
Mulder
my
line.
favorite lines.
Mulder line.
I don't remember that one at all.
Really? He comes into
Yeah.
the office and she's watching something on at his desk.
Mhm.
Can you give us a season?
Oh, I don't know the season, but you actually mentioned it earlier in the recording.
It's not Alone. War of the Coprophages?
No, it's
'cause
from
they're split up.
Excelsior State. It's from Excelsior State.
Oh.
Oh, okay.
So after he says that, she says, "Okay, well, I put it in this drawer with all the other tapes that aren't yours."
Yeah, I remember that.
Okay, number 4. Cerulean makes me think of a gentle breeze.
So there's one of 2 possibilities here.
Right.
Every fanfic writer ever describing Scully's eyes.
Cerulean blue.
Yeah, it is.
Cerulean orb.
It's what is it? Ronin. What's that guy's name? Pusher.
Pusher, yeah, there you go.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's from
Because then the
Pusher.
other possible choice would have been Kitsungari, where he comes back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he says it in Pusher. Yeah. So, okay, last one. I've seen the life on this planet, Scully, and that is exactly why I'm looking elsewhere.
I know that
This is-
line too, but it's just,
I know the line, but the episode.
I don't know.
Did we get a season hint?
I think this is 7.
Mm.
Hollywood AD.
Oh, come on. You're both
Is
killing
it,
me.
Is it Fringe?
Wait. Maybe it's season 6.
not-
Wait, hang on.
Oh, is it The Unnatural?
Yes, it's the Unnatural.
Yeah, I
But
know
yeah,
the
well
same
done.
thing of the
I got the
episode.
season wrong.
Very well done.
That's actually my favorite X-Files scene. So
Mine too.
I really like those episodes with
Arthur Dale.
Frederick Lane. Yeah, Arthur Dales, the young Arthur Dales. He was great in the other episode too. I just like him as an actor. I've seen him, and he's just a very underutilized actor in Hollywood. I think he's so great.
Yeah, I was curious about that because I've been watching. I recently came across Stargate SG-1, and I know Crystal's tired of hearing me say that, but he's in a couple of those episodes, and so I was kind of wondering, like, is he Vancouver based? Because there seems like there's quite a few actors that are maybe Vancouver based that get used across the 2 shows because they're kind of happening at the same time, and so I was wondering.
And then he had a small part in Zero Dark 30, that Jessica Chastain film, and he pops up every now and then, but man, he's so good. I don't know why we don't use him more.
Well, Tim, I know you got to go, so thank you so much for coming on as our VIP consultant today.
Thank you. No, thank you for having me. It was really fun. Yeah.
Yeah. So for our listeners, be sure to check out the TV Police podcast at thetvpolice.com. We can't let you go without asking you when the TV Police is coming back, because we've been waiting and we've been waiting for
Yes.
word. We miss you guys.
Yeah, we're in the mix right now, and in the middle of working out a production deal, and so hopefully, it'll be fairly soon. I'm guesstimating that it's going to be in the next month at least, at the most. So we're within a month. Hopefully, we'll get there. Don't hold it against me if it turns into six weeks, but yeah, that's about the time frame, I think.
Okay, cool. That's awesome. Yeah. I mean, we've been having people in the bullpen who say, "Where's the TV Police? How come it hasn't come back yet?"
No, absolutely. Please, get that out there. We're very well aware of it, and we're excited to come back. We've got a lot of great things, great guests lined up, and a lot of great topics to discuss, new bits and new sections of the show. We've kind of done a slight overhaul. I mean, certainly most of the structure will remain the same, but there are some new things that we are adding, and we look forward to it. So, stay tuned.
You heard it here first.
Yeah, stay tuned. Rom-Com detectives. So.
And before we let you go, we hope that you will watch Fringe.
Yes.
Yeah, well, you guys have sold it so much. I have to now. So yeah.
You'll just get some email later that's Tim being like, "Oh my god!"
Right. To be fair, it was
absolutely.
In fairness to you, it was a contemporary of The Mentalist.
Sure.
I remember, watching like all of these shows at the same, well, not the same day and time, but like in the same time. So like, not holding that against you, because I assume you were busy with work and like doing things. So
yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah. All right.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Okay,
it was a lot of fun.
Bye.
All right. Bye.
Thank you.
So it came out I think in the last week, Deadline announced that there's a bunch of supporting casts that have been announced, like Amy Madigan, Steve Buscemi, Tantu Cardinal. So they're the ball is rolling, which is nice to see. But do you think that this is for like a full season, or are all these people going to be on the pilot?
It's a lot of names for a pilot.
Yeah,
a lot of well-known names for a pilot.
So I don't know. Do you think maybe they've already ordered it and we just haven't heard the news yet? Because that would be kind of encouraging.
Yeah, I don't know. I hope so. Like, I mean, this sounds like a really exciting project, and I mean, just one season of it, I think would be worth it, and getting people to watch the X-Files, because I think that's one of the cool thing about the X-Files is I haven't been on Twitter much at all recently, but in terms of like the Mentalist bullpen, there are so many people who are still finding the X-Files from the beginning. And I think when a show's reboot or revamp or sequel is executed correctly, that I think helps, the original project, right? And will help the current one be successful as well. So I'm hoping that it's been, greenlit and that we're just not having all the details yet.
I'm really looking forward to this reboot because of who's on board and who's in charge of it. But I am not looking forward to the backlash on the diverse cast, because I mean, we've already seen some of that when Himesh was announced. There were a lot of crappy comments on social media, and same thing with Danielle. I mean, all you could see, and like it was to the point where the X-Files subreddit had to implement automated measures to help combat what they thought was brigading. For those who don't go on Reddit, brigading is when you basically tell all your friends from somewhere else to come to over here and just downvote everything, so that it gets like you negatively affect the vibe of a place, like with an outside force. And so they had to put in measures to kind of combat that. And the fact that they had to do that was very discouraging, I thought.
Which, I mean, I think the worst thing that networks or creatives can do with something like that is to listen to those comments, because I mean, that's what happened with Star Wars, allegedly, right? Like with this latest round of the Star Wars films, where You can feel however you want about them. I'm not telling anyone how to feel about them, but when you suddenly get all these comments about like Rose Tico, and who, you know, is played by an Asian American woman, or excuse me, a Vietnamese American woman. You have comments about like Ray and comments about Finn. And I mean, these comments are just getting, they're bombarding people, right? And then there's this
Yeah.
backlash. And so then we kind of shift our focus back in the last movie, which then is terrible because like we've listened to all these people who are like, we're the real fans and audience. And it's like,
The only problem I have is suckling the green milk, okay? That's where I draw the line.
No, but,
that's a
like,
fair line.
the people who complained so loudly about Rey, I was like, were you guys sleeping when Princess Leia was on the screen in the original trilogy? She
No,
was
they
a
were doing
strong,
gross things.
badass woman, and she was in from the beginning, you know, so did you have a problem with
It was
her?
that Rey didn't have to work as hard for the powers that she had, blah, blah, blah. I mean, there are critiques I could make about everything about that whole reboot. However, when they get boiled down to the gender and or, you know, background minority status of the actor playing it, then that's not useful. It's not constructive. It's just complaining.
Yeah.
And it's the same. I mean, I see it all the time, even in like in video game fandoms, that there tend to be a lot of very vocal young men who would like things to stay how they like them, which is no women, no diversity, no people of other sexual orientations. And yet, you know, and sometimes the big companies will roll that back and things suck more, or they don't and they get to, you know, have a more diverse audience too, because those people don't see themselves in other AAA games or whatever. So it's kind of a weird, you can't listen to the squeaky wheel too loud, because there's probably lots of people out there who are actually watching your reaction to the squeaky wheel to see how they feel about the, you know,
yeah, it's like a crowd mentality sometimes, right?
Yeah. Well, and I feel like this came up not too long ago in the bullpen, where we were talking about just sci-fi in general, and how traditionally there's this concept, this idea that sci-fi, the main fan base of sci-fi is men, right? And that's just not true. It's never been true. In fact, like I think, and I'm not even just making this up, this has been documented, but what gives Star Trek its staying power is the women in the fan base, who are doing the zines, who are doing all of these different things, right? And that's a part of the fandom history that kind of gets cut out sometimes.
Why would that be?
Could be misogyny, could be homophobia. I don't know what it is, really.
What could it be? It's a mystery.
But I think
they'll find it in the X-Files. That's where.
But I think that's one of the things about the X-Files too, because, you know, with rom-com detectives, we talk a lot about ships and things like that. And, you know, that's been a long tension in the X-Files, right? Like if you're either a shipper or you're a no Romo.
Mhm.
And no Romo tends to get taken more seriously depending on who you're talking to, because like they're not here for the ship. It's not about the romance, which is the girly stuff. It's about the hardcore facts stuff, right? And I mean, if people are wondering, where am I even pulling this from? I mean, this has just been my experience in this fandom over the last like 26 years in terms of like, you know, what's taken seriously, what's not taken seriously.
It's not just the fandom. I mean, that's the great big, you know, unspoken thing in publishing is that you want to make money, you write romance, because romance readers will always read more romance. They're the ones who buy books. They're the ones who will buy books, like any book. Whereas, you know, the things that are nominated for prestigious awards and, you know, stuff, they don't have the same fan following, and their authors, unless supported otherwise, probably aren't making their living as a writer. They've got other stuff going on. So, you know, it's a long standing bit of misogyny that romance is for the girls, which again, it isn't, because there's lots of male readers too. They just don't say anything because it's embarrassing.
Right.
But they're the ones who have the money and the time to invest, like those first women who started the Star Trek zines. Like, they were like middle-aged women who were like, you know what? Let's let this live on by doing all this extra stuff for free because we love it. And that's fandom, right?
Right. And I mean, I think the difference and like the distinction just sort of being that, talking about Princess Leia, something I always think about with the original trilogy is that, yeah, she's badass in the first two movies, but then you get to the third movie and what's happening? She's in a revealing
Slave.
bikini,
Yeah.
chained to Jabba the Hutt as a slave. And I just recall Carrie Fisher like talking about some of the terrible comments she received where, grown men now, these aren't boys anymore. Grown men would come up to her and just tell her deeply personal things that I will not mention because I know this is a clean podcast. Deeply personal things about, how they, let's say, visualized her character in their lives. And, I think it's okay from that perspective to say, oh, wow, like Scully's really hot or Princess Leia's really hot. And that's okay. But like, this idea that you could connect these two characters in a romance is somehow like too many. It's a bridge too far, if you will.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of fans out there just don't have any boundaries. They can't separate the character from the actor. And recently, I saw like a lot of criticism for Gillian Anderson because there are all these pictures of her where she had taken pictures with fans at a con, and basically they were commenting on how she's basically just standing kind of apart from the people she took pictures with. Like she's not like putting her arm around them, or she's not smiling hard enough. And I was just like, I mean, she's probably been hounded by fans who go a little too far, way too
She's
often.
tired, man. Like it's
Well,
a
yeah,
long
that too. She's probably tired, but that people just don't know boundaries.
No.
They watch these characters on TV and they feel, I think, some kind of sense of ownership in a way. Like the scarier fans, they feel like I
Well,
know
it's a very
you.
social thing too, right? Like but she doesn't know you.
Yeah, and so I just feel like, cut these actors some slack. They're working, and they don't want to be there to be like manhandled or groped or touched. Maybe not even, So I mean, and that's their right. So I got really upset watching these people criticize her for not being engaging enough. It's like. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's like how much does an actor owe you? Like just because you're a fan doesn't mean that like she should
Yeah.
like hug you. And I mean, some actors do.
Yeah.
But that's their personality, right? Like cuz I
Some
personally
friends
am not a
hug you
hugger.
and others don't. Like they're people, This is one of those
Right.
things that people forget. Like that's their job. Their job is acting and playing a character. But people are people, and some people don't like to hug other people, and some people don't, and some people love it. And you have to leave it. They still have rights as a human being just because they're playing a character that you like on TV. Like
Well,
they're
not
people.
not only that though, like there are some characters on a different tier, right? And I feel like Scully is way up there on like the sex factor. Like people love Scully just because of how gorgeous she is, how she looks, and so I feel like she's way more likely to get the out of control people approaching
Mhm.
her. So
Yeah.
she probably has to deal with a lot more than say someone who's like, mostly a character actor guesting on a lot of shows. She's Gillian Anderson.
Mhm.
But
She's Dana
also,
Scully. So
and this is back to our I think a point we made just a second ago about misogyny, right? She's a woman.
Yeah.
She's supposed to like be huggy, touchy-feely. Oh my gosh, smiling all the time and,
Make other people feel better
right.
rather than thinking about what makes her feel good.
Yeah. Swallow her own discomfort to make everyone else feel welcome. And
yeah.
that's kind of
Don't
what
do that, ladies. You don't have to.
exactly.
All right, let's move on to the score topic. So do we think that the theme should be a totally new one or a modern version of the old one? So I looked up some examples. Battlestar Galactica went with a complete revamp. Like it sounds nothing like the original theme song. But then updated examples are 90210, Hawaii 50, and Magnum PI, the one that Tim was on. And I actually really liked the revamped versions of Hawaii 50 and Magnum PI. I thought they sounded a little more exciting and upbeat, and yet they were still the exact same sound. So I
I
like
think they
that.
got to do the echo of the the do 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 kind of like, because otherwise we're gonna it won't feel like
it won't feel like X-Files, right?
They don't have to do the whole like opening theme.
Nope.
I think like if they did a title card like Castle and like a little bit of that theme, I think that's sufficient.
Or even echo it in like I watched a super interesting video once about how every James Bond theme basically follows like a like they'll include some set of notes that are like, even though the songs are wildly different, and yet there's still something that says James Bond, and it's like a certain motif. So I think, even if there's an echo of that motif, it would be kind of a nice nod.
So Mark Snow sadly passed away in 2025, and so I had come up with a couple of people. I pulled them out of like just by my own personal likes that I like. My top choice was Ludwig Göransson, and I based this solely on The Mandalorian, which I'm actually going to go see tonight. Very excited about that. And then I went to go look up his discography, and I was like, oh my god, he's worked on so many Ryan Coogler things. And then I told my cousin who works in Hollywood, and she's like, oh yeah, they went to USC together. They were roommates. They're like best friends. And I was like, what?
Didn't he win an Oscar for Sinners?
Yeah. And so I was just like, I feel like my top choice is probably really likely going to happen. So
I would say that is very possible if there's, the long-standing
connection. Yeah. I feel like he's gonna, even though I think he's very, Ludwig is in high demand, I feel like, yeah, he's gonna.
You make room in your schedule for your buddy. That's what you do.
And then, like my runners up would be Siddhartha Khosla, who did Paradise. I really liked what he did with sound and score in Paradise. Just the way that he had it like circling around you. Like he played with the way that the sound and direction was going, and he really scored the episodes very heavily. Like he used the music a lot. There was rarely moments of silence in Paradise. And then there's Michael Giacchino. He did Rogue One, Lost, and Fringe, and Chris Tilton also did Fringe, but he did horror. He did From, so I feel like he's also a good contender. So
I was just gonna add another frequent Ryan Coogler collaborator being, I believe her name is Ruth Carter. I might be off by that, but she does design work, and her design work is phenomenal. And she also won an Oscar, I'm pretty sure, for Sinners. Or was nominated. So I expect that there will be some Ryan Coogler frequent collaborators in this project. And I guess maybe that's what's nice about having shorter series is that people who normally do movies,
they bring all their buddies.
Yeah, like so you don't have that hard distinction anymore because it's not like we're telling you can't do anything for 9 months. It's just this short.
Well, and also too, I think that when you look at like roughly the ages, you're looking at like these are the nerds who grew up and now have careers doing these things. So I think that if any of them were fans of the original and then they get asked like, hey, I'm rebooting it, can you do, they're going to be like, absolutely, because that sense of nostalgia comes.
I think Ryan Coogler is around my age. If I think he's maybe early 40s, not quite 40. And so I do think that, especially coming back to some of our earlier conversation about like the government conspiracy, are we shifting from that and like experiences? He's definitely closer to the coming of age post 9/11.
Absolutely.
And so I do think that's going to make a difference in terms of.
He was born in 1986.
So he's 3 years older than I am.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that, because I mean, even, I was in my third year of university or something like that. And I feel like, even though I remember pre 9/11, most of my adult life has been influenced much more heavily by living in that post world. And so, yeah, I think that would be, and then also since we're currently doing some kind of weird return to the past that everybody has forgotten, world wars and random things. It's just, I feel like there is some room for that angle to be played up, but it's less of like government conspiracy and more like what's happening in the dumpster today. Oh, it's on fire.
Yeah. Did you guys see Sinners? I have mentioned
I haven't yet. I want to, but I haven't.
I was gonna watch Sinners to prep for this, and then I logged onto Prime, and there's this big ass banner for the new Jack Ryan movie, and I got distracted. And I watched that instead.
Who could blame you?
I just want to say, like, I think, for those who've seen Sinners and those who have the opportunity to see it and want to watch it, it's a vampire movie, so it's not for everybody. It's got a good deal of gore in it.
Is it? Oh my
Um,
god! I watched the first 10 minutes. I had no idea.
Really?
Yeah.
You didn't know it was a vampire movie? Like, you got 2 years out from Sinners and never found out it was a vampire movie?
Wait, are we talking about the same movie? The one with Michael B. Jordan?
Yeah, it's a vampire movie. I guess I
Even
just
knew
spoiled
it
it
was a
then.
vampire movie.
Yeah,
For the spoiler.
I thought that was
Spoiler
common
alert.
knowledge.
The last time that happened to me was what the heck was it? The George Clooney movie with Quentin Tarantino?
Oh,
Dusk Till Dawn from Dusk Till Dawn.
Dust Till Dawn. Yeah.
So actually, there's some similarities. I wouldn't say they're the same movie, but I do think there's some inspiration, as I think most creators do take
homage.
homage. But yeah, it is actually a vampire movie. It is a little gory, so I don't want people to go watch it thinking it's something. Fun fact is, it came out on Easter weekend in 2024, and my mom thought it was a movie. Sorry.
That's really funny.
Here come the vampires.
Okay, wait. I am 21 minutes into this movie, and there's no vampires at this point. Ugh.
Because the people haven't shown up who are going to do the vampire stuff yet, and then it turns kind of sort of into From Dusk Till Dawn.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm more interested now because I had no idea it was a supernatural movie.
It is. But
I'm less inclined to watch like pure period pieces. So yeah, now that there's a supernatural element, I'm like, oh.
I will say the reason I bring that up is it has some messaging in it that's artfully done.
Oh, I love an artfully done message and not
not really
anvil over the head messaging.
Right.
Like, I'm good. We can just be subtle about this. It's fine.
Yeah.
It was climate change all along. Oh.
And I mean, like, you can go that, but I have found in recent shows, there was a show, I can't even remember the name of it, and it's been a few years now, where everyone's like, oh my gosh, it's so like feminist and positive and good, and like the characters are so liberated. And I mean, that's all true, but it was so heavy-handed that I kind of just checked out of it. Like, give me all of those things, but can we do it a little bit more artfully?
Okay, so last bit of news that I learned about just yesterday is that a director's cut of X-Files, I Want to Believe, is going to be released on Hulu and Disney Plus on June 11. Last year, Chris Carter had mentioned while he was a guest on David Duchovny's podcast, Feel Better, he said that Fox had basically made him edit the movie that he wanted. They made him edit it down to something PG-13, and even with his PG-13 edit, I guess they were just like, no, it's still too scary, so they made him pare it down even more. And maybe that may contribute to why I actually didn't really care for it, because I mean, like, there are some extended versions of movies where I'm just like, oh my god, this is a totally different movie, this is much better. Like Two Towers comes to mind. I just felt like watching the theatrical version of Two Towers and the extended version, they're two different movies, it kind of seems like, and the extended version of Two Towers is so much better than the theatrical. But
I feel the same way about X-Men Days of Future Past, the Rogue cut, because for some reason for theatrical they cut out Rogue, but then the director's cut has Rogue in it, and I feel like that's the much better version.
Yeah, so I think my main problem, like I Want to Believe wasn't bad, really, but for me, it just didn't have like an X-Files feel to it. To me, it was more like Criminal Minds with Mulder and Scully. It just felt like a standard creepy killer, criminal case. It didn't really have any supernatural, like unexplained phenomenon kind of element to it, and I feel like that's where they just kind of missed the mark on it. So.
Yeah. And I'm just thrilled that we're getting this cut. I love, like I said, I'll watch anything X-Files related. I'm just bummed there's not going to be a physical copy. That's what I was wanting, was a Blu-ray.
Alrighty, any last thoughts?
I'm interested to see what happens. I mean, we'll see. But I also had my hopes up about the Buffy reboot that's now been canceled.
Tara, we got to talk offline about this. Because that was incredibly upsetting.
I'm still recovering from it.
Okay, Neoshia, you want to talk about your...
Yeah, I just want to say I'm super excited about this reboot and I want to see where it goes. But I also wanted to do a quick self-promotion because I was recently on a podcast called Stan, episode 14 of that podcast, where I actually discuss my what I might call X-Files insanity, or just my, participation in the X-Files fandom and what X-Files has meant to me and what that experience has been like. So again, it's Stan is the name of the podcast, episode 14.
I will link to it in the show notes so that people can find it easily. Okay. So if you're enjoying Rom-Com Detectives, we hope you'll consider taking a minute to leave us a rating or review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. For our question of the week, leave us a comment on Spotify, YouTube, or Reddit and tell us what your favorite episode of The X-Files is. If you want to contact the Rom-Com Detectives, email us at host@romcomdetectives.com. You can follow us on Instagram, Threads, or Blue Sky at Rom-Com Detectives, or leave us a voicemail or text message at 1-650-733-XOXO or 9696. This episode of Rom-Com Detectives was recorded on May 22nd, 2026, and was co-hosted by Krista Watanabe, Tara Avery, and Neoshia Roemer, with guest Tim Kang, and is produced by Pico's House. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Holy bejesus, 1 hour, 55 minutes.